I think this is the first consensus one we're going to have. And you've saved
not on the screen, which has made me wig out a little bit.
Because there's no stats to show.
Is this Luke Shaw?
You wish it was Luke Shaw, mate.
So, if we just get some of the numbers up, right? Hello and welcome to Stretford, Paddock. This is Off the Bar, brought to you by Green King Sport. And today, we are going to be bringing the 3 players that we each think will thrive under Ruben Amorim. We've looked through the squad, and we've all picked our own players that we think are going to excel under this potential either 3-4-3 or whatever Ruben Amorim brings, who we're looking forward to seeing under the new manager.
Have you ever seen Inglourious Bastards?
Have I ever seen it?
Yeah. Is that real, that, the whole 3 thing? Is that what the Germans
Why would
do?
I know that?
I don't know, because that's what gives him away, innit? He does that.
Supposedly.
Yeah, and it's meant to be like that.
Should be like that.
I've never noticed that before.
Well, we're going to go through 3, and I mean 3
Is that how you do it?
players
Like
each. I would probably do that.
Really?
Yeah.
I do that.
Starters.
Yeah. Very good. Jay, we'll start with you.
Thank you.
We've got 3 each, and what
Who
we'll
does
do
that?
is...
That feels like a thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's quite good, actually.
Is that not?
3. This feels American, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got 3 players each,
Yeah.
and we're going to go through and debate how we think they'll get on under Ruben Amorim. So we'll start with you. Who's your first player that you think is going to excel under Ruben Amorim?
Just an absolute tap-in. Arguably the greatest fullback the world has ever seen. Mazraoui. He's come in, he's smashed it. Even from his Fulham debut, I was like, who is this kid and where's he been all my life? He was just absolutely spot on. And he's left me with a bit of egg on my face, because before we bought him, I was like, do we really need to be messing about the right-back spot? Everything's okay. We've got Delo, we've got Wan-Bissaka, they're decent and different. We don't need another right-back, we need a left-back. Mazraoui's just showed me that I was completely wrong, because he's, for me, our best fullback. I think he is. And I think you might go, oh, well, it's a bit early to tell. It's not. You can tell how good he is. He's not a kid. He's 20.
I think you could have put the money on it on the Fulham game.
Yeah, he's 27.
Like, wow.
Yeah, he's mint going forward. He can defend as well. He can cut inside. He can drift inside when he needs to. He can go on the outside. He's got everything you'd want from a modern fullback. And I think in a system that we expect Ruben Amorim to play, if it is with wing backs, I think he could fill that role. If he did end up playing 4 at the back, because he might switch it up, then obviously he can play as full back. And if you need to use him on the left, you can. I know he's a right back. He's just got a bit of everything, and I just think he's just class. And at a time when we have struggled, there's a reason Eric Ten Hag got sacked. He's been one of the few players who I think has been consistently performing. I don't like, some players have had good games and bad ones. Like Casemiro's had good and bad. 1 or 2 others, have sort of flattered to deceive at times and steps up at others. I think he's just been consistently good in the team.
He's absolutely Dennis Irwin, hasn't he?
He has. Dennis Irwin, great.
He has been.
He's been consistent.
7.5 to 9 every single game. He's just not put a foot wrong.
And I think I can't imagine Ruben Amorim not starting him every game and not using him every game. And I think no matter what system you go with, he'll work in it.
Just first question. If it is, let's assume it's a 3-4-3. Obviously, it might not be. Yeah. It might be eventually, but not yet. It might be for now, but not forever. But let's just assume there's a 3-4-3 in the offing. Does he have the final third product to do that? Just looking at some of his numbers, and I know he's not been asked to play as a 3 at the back, but just to get a bit of sort of context, he's in the bottom 23% of sort of top 5 leagues fullbacks in terms of assists, in terms of non-penalty goals. He's in the bottom 20%, so he's not someone that scores or creates a lot right now.
You watch United this year?
Exactly. I know there's loads of content. Would that be your response as well, that he's not had to do that, he's not been asked to, or do you have any worries about him in the final third?
Not at all. I think you look at, no disrespect to some of our attackers, but none of them have been firing on all cylinders. Maybe Diallo recently. Yeah. But Xerxes missed sitters. Hojlund just seems to spend half the time chasing after the ball. That's not a criticism. He drops deep to get the ball. He's trying his best. But we've not been effective in that third.
You know, you're finished
also,
when someone goes, he's trying his best.
I know. Sorry, I know that is a kiss. That is a bad way to support a player. He's a lovely lad. That's up there with. He's such a nice guy, innit?
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself.
How good's Rasmus Hojlund? He's a lovely guy.
Yeah, you know what? He's always on time. he dresses really well. Do you know what I mean? If you need a lift,
always says hello.
He always says hello. Really friendly. Yeah, that was damning my faint praise, wasn't it? But listen, we know we've been poor going forward, and plus. Yeah. It's slightly different if you're in a 3-4-3 than if you're in a back 4. I mean, he might be in a back 4, but I don't think those numbers reflect his performances. If we can just go off the eye test and look at what you're seeing on the pitch, going forward or defensively, is he good?
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's that.
I think the one thing you've not touched on with Mazraoui as well is his decision making. Everything he does is just go nice.
Yeah. And there's not a stat for that.
No, there isn't a stat for that. Where what he did was the right thing at the right time. You can go past completion, this and that. When I watch him play, I think he just makes really intelligent footballing decisions. I think he might be the smartest footballer in the team.
And that's been a big problem for United post-Ferg.
The only person who comes close to him is Christian Eriksen. In terms of like that footballing IQ.
Yeah, that's a good shout. There you go.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
No, I agree. I
know it's a tap-in.
The only question for me would be when he's on the edge of the 18-yard box with a full-back in front of him, a centre mid on his left-hand side, and there's no one overlapping because it's him. Can he get out of that consistently enough for us to, challenge at the, top end of the Premier League? But like you said, his decision making so good. I think he'll find a way through those decisions.
I know you're not making this point, but would you rather have him in that position or Dello?
Yeah, probably Mazraoui. Although I do think Dello maybe has a bit more of an eye for goal and for
I like Dello, but I think this season in particular, he's not been great. So, and I think Mazraoui has.
Okay, who's your second pick?
Again, I'm just doing it tapping central. I'm not even pretending. Mainoo. Like, you've almost forgot how
our best player last season.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We agreed who we were going to go with. Neither of you two said it, so I'll say it. Because he's just mint and we've missed him. It's almost gone on the radar a little bit how important he is to us because he's missed some games. And I just think, to come in, people forget, he only made his debut this time last year, November, at Goodison, wasn't it?
We should have been thinking about that, shouldn't he?
Yeah. And then next thing you know, he's in the Euros final, and everyone's just, oh yeah, that's just normal. It's not. He's a teenager who's come into this midfield and absolutely smashed it, including scoring a goal in the FA Cup final against Manchester City, which nearly had me in tears. He's just class. He really is. And I don't give a fuck what system Ruben Amorim can invent or come up with. Mainoo will fit in it. Yeah. He just will. He's that good.
I just had this thought. So we've been talking about the 3-4-3.
Yeah.
What if it's the 3-diamond 3? Like Cruyff.
What's that mean? No wingers in that? Just shitloads of midfielders?
It's basically the same. Instead of having 2 6s, 2 10s, you just go and just turn it 90 degrees.
6, 2 8s and a 10. That's a lovely note. One thing about Mainoo that I think is sort of goes under the radar when people talk about what he's good at. His ability to dribble past people in deep areas is the best we've got in the team by an absolute mile. Yeah. Like his dribbling numbers are excellent. So I think him receiving the ball off the defence, he's good at that. We lacked that with Fred and McTominay, under Solskjaer, and even with Casemiro. I think with his back to play, receiving the ball off the defence, that can cost him at times.
Yeah.
But I think Mainoo's excellent at that, and if he's one of the two in there next to a Ugarte or a Casemiro, whoever it is, I think he's the one who can get the ball off Martinez or Yoro or whoever.
I wanted to ask you whether you thought
players in.
There could be a scenario where he plays further up the pitch.
Mainoo?
Yeah, if the manager went, right, I'm going to have Ugarte and Casemiro, could you see Mainoo pushing up the pitch? Because I personally think
if it's wing backs with 6s and 10s, pair of each.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just curious what you think.
It depends on the game state as well, doesn't it? Sometimes you might go with a Mainoo as one of the 10s. Sometimes you might go with a winger as one of the 10s. It's such a flexible formation. Like I've always said, Stoke and Barcelona used to both play 4-3-3, but it wasn't the same, was it?
No. And we've seen the thing with Mainoo. We've seen him when he goes forward. He can't, like we saw it against Liverpool. So
it looks better when he starts going lateral and that having dribbling in the final third. I think that's when he comes out of looking like an all right Premier League player to a fucking hell, look at him, oh, what a play! Like that's when he really steps up. So maybe a formation that actually goes, yeah, go on, mate, get up there and do something. Jesus Christ, you might see some madness.
I know. If I'm Ruben Amorim, I'd be absolutely buzzing to be working with someone like Mainoo, especially at this stage in his career, still at the beginning of his career. And a player that's just got so much talent and such a fantastic attitude and maturity as well. He's just, I can't say enough good things about him.
And his tackling goes under the radar as well. That's in the top 11%. His interceptions are in the top 1%. Like his defensive numbers are better than people think. They don't think of him as a defensive player, and I don't really.
It's because he doesn't charge about the place.
Yeah,
and he doesn't do those things where he's flying into everything from a distance. Where you go, look at that blood and thunder type, Dunkirk spirit. Well, sometimes you just read the game better than that. You don't need to do it.
Yeah, no, I think his performances this season, people were talking like he hasn't played that well this season. I think he's gone massively under the radar. That's just because we've not been winning, therefore everyone must have been shit.
The ball took off him against the Scousers and they acted like he cost us the game when we were already 2-0 down. It's like, come on, man, get a grip.
Who's your third player?
Third one is, again, and I've just gone complete Sam Essential, but he's one who's probably had a little bit more criticism than the other two I've mentioned, and that's Lisandro Martinez. I still think that he's on this road. I know he's injured at the minute, so it's probably bad time to choose him, but on this road to getting fully back to where he was in that first season. But that first season, he was phenomenal. And I think he's a player that could be vital for Ruben Amorim. The way he can carry the ball out of defence, the calmness he has under pressure. I do think if you're going to play a back three, he's got to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I think Martinez is he's different gravy. And, there was a lot of mistakes in the transfer market when Antony came in, but he wasn't one of them. He was one of the ones we got right. It was just so annoying and frustrating that he picked up that injury in that Sevilla game, but towards the end of that game, which was just the most horrendous 10 minutes we've had in years, where he gets injured, we concede 2 goals, and that's him out for...
Varane got injured as well, didn't
he? It was almost like that cost him season. But you saw it in that cup final. He comes back. I don't think he only played an hour. But without him, we don't win it. You know what I mean? We just don't.
I just love his spirit.
Yeah, that's another great point. His leadership as well. Gets everyone going, gets the crowd going, gets his teammates going. He is a force to be reckoned with. And I think him in this team, you can get him fit. I know it's a big if. You get him fit, it'll be absolutely vital. And I think that with the likes of De Ligt, with the likes of Lenny Yoro, with maybe Maguire if he's coming in or whoever, you've got Martinez in that back three if it is a back three, or even if it's a back two. You're laughing. You really are. We missed him so much last season when he was out for basically the entire season.
Only question again would be, if he's playing on the left of a back three, he's having to do more of that running out wide to stop counter-attacks, going one-on-one maybe with a winger or a striker. Does his pace bother you in that area? So against Porto at times he didn't quite have it.
I think he had a bad game against Porto, and I think, again, it was catching up with him a little bit. He looked knackered. Both him and De Ligt looked knackered. Yeah, he got subbed for Maguire and Evans, for fuck's sake. That's not a criticism of Maguire and Evans, but there's a reason for that. These aren't two bad players. So why have you took them both off? Because they both look like they're running through trees. We're getting bullied.
Yeah.
But you look at Martinez when he's been asked to play at left back in those few games we've seen, he's done all right. Do you know what I mean? And it's different playing left back to left side of the centre back. So I think he reads the game well enough, and I think he's got enough about him. And also, if you've got De Ligt, you've got Yoro alongside, you've got someone like I daren't say Luke Shaw, because it seems like he's never ever going to play football, but who knows, someone like that on that left hand side, I think he'll be fine. I think Martinez is the kind of player and character this team is crying out for. We'll talk about leadership. Casemiro was getting a lot of praise because he bollocked Garnacho. Martinez has been a leader ever since he come into the team. Do you know what I mean? He has. He's just, as soon as he came into this team, he was having it, and that's what we missed.
Do you see any issues, Steve, with... Because when he first came in, there was the whole thing about his height, which I think has largely been sort of dispelled now, but he wasn't like an obviously, this guy's going to work. He had to convince the press and the media and, rival fans and all that. Is there a chance that Amorim is just immediately slightly suspicious of a 5'9" centre-back in the Premier League? Do you think that's a concern?
Surely if he just watched him, he wouldn't have any concerns.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah. No, I don't think there'd be any concerns with him at all. And even with the, can he cover over in the channel? You got to remember, when he's been covering over in the channel, especially like the Porto game and stuff like that, there's only one other centre half behind him. That's why it's a nightmare. When there's 2 centre halves behind him, you can have that little bit more. Go on, just smash them on in that channel and see what happens and get away with it. Like you got that extra cover. That's one of the beauties of the back three, is that you literally almost have like a free hit at someone going mothering someone, and that's why it can be relatively effective when it happens. And you get a little bit of that almost match of the day highlight reel sort of stuff, because they've kind of been given the leash to sort of nail someone essentially, because they've got the cover of 2 behind them. Is that
a fundamentally then part? Because obviously with almost all modern high pressing systems, your main weakness is often counter attacks, in it. Like, is the 3 at the back a way to alleviate that weakness by we're just going to have an extra centre back so that when you do counter attack, we've got another man there who's really good at defending?
I mean, we're kind of already doing that, and most teams right now, I bet if you looked at all the different patterns, maybe some of the really lower down teams leave a full 4 back and both full backs are told do not cross the halfway line, and we stand in a 4 just to try and overload that back line and give us half a chance. But I reckon every team in the top half of the table, without having studied every single team in the top half of the table, just my gut feeling would be that every team in the top half of the table plays with a back three when they've got possession in the opposition half. Because that 3-2-5 or 3-1-6 or even 3-2-2-3 or whatever shape you want to call it at the moment is so prevalent in modern football. Everybody's doing it. So the shape that we had under Erik ten Hag with a 3-2-5, it's going to look identical to that once if Amorim goes with a 3-4-3. As soon as we get into the opposition half, the full-backs have pushed up or the wing-backs have pushed right up. You've got your 3, you've got the 2, and then you've got your back 3 left. The only difference is when you do it in a 4-2-3-1, it's one of the full-backs having to make that long adventure up into the final third, and then one of your full-backs sort of shuffles over, which is why it's been effective having Martinez kind of shuffle over from left-back to make essentially a back 3 anyway. So, and that's one of the reasons why you see Arsenal and City kind of having a back 4 of 4 centre-halves.
Yeah, they play 4 centre-backs,
because you can get, if one's a bit more athletic, you can get forward, push forward, and you've still got that 3 centre-half base at the back. So even though it'll be a complete change, it won't really be a complete change. The patterns will look very similar.
So does it worry you then that at the minute the thing we're struggling to do is score, and if we play with wing-backs, and people assume that means full-back turned wing-back rather than winger turned wing-back, but could
be one of each.
Yeah, it could be one of each. If it is full-backs turned wing-backs, we're taking out a more attacking midfielder or attacker for another defender in a team that already can't score goals. Is that going to be a problem, do you think? I know
since June, I've been worried about our goal-scoring prowess.
But is it going to get even worse?
It might.
God, imagine that. What if we scored like 12 goals in 11 games or something?
It's horrible.
What if we scored less than that, fewer than that?
The goals issue is obviously a massive one.
Yeah. As always, Off the Bar is brought to you by Green King Sport, where football is more than a game. And on the 24th of November, get it in your diaries, it is Amorim's first game at Manchester United. Away at Ipswich. If you're not going to the game, there's nowhere better to watch it than at your local Green King Sport pub. Get your mates together and head down.
If you use the Green King Sport app, you'll be able to find your nearest pub and get 10% off your drinks for the entire game. And if you've not signed up before, you'll even get a free pint on the house.
We've linked the app in the description down below, so thanks to Green King Sport. Make sure you go check it out.
Let's go through yours then, Ste. You got your first player up there, someone who got a goal the other day.
Yeah, Tom Eaton, Johnny Evans, and Michael Carrick is the 3 that I'm going for.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? Ahmad is your first one.
Amad Diallo.
Yeah, I think Ahmad has got the ability to, when he plays that 3, it's very much a narrow 3 if he plays that 3. If he sticks with 4-2-3-1, because I'm putting that on the table as an option.
Yeah.
He may come in and go, you kind of know what you're doing already. The patterns look very much like I want them to look like in the final third. I'm going to keep it 4-2-3-1 and we'll fix it in the summer and go 3-4-3 from then once I get the signings in that facilitate moving permanently to that shape. I think that is a very strong option. I don't know what percentage I'd put on that versus like new guy, Bosch, new system, deal with it. I don't know. It might even be 50-50.
He's done that before, hasn't he?
Yes.
Played 4 at the back.
Yeah, when he had some injuries at Sporting and was like, this suits the team better. So that tells me that, okay, so he's coming into a team that plays 4-2-3-1 but actually makes shapes in the final third how he wants, how I see Sporting lining up. I think there's a very real chance that he just sort of keeps it the same. Yeah. Whether he keeps it the same or he changes it and it goes to the 3 that we've seen, 3-4-3, I think Ahmad is absolutely one of the players that he'll adore for whether he plays in the half space just off a striker or if he plays as a winger that's looking to penetrate around the side of the box. I love his ball retention. I love his dribbling ability. I just think he's a real classy little player and he's still such a rookie. I don't know how many games he's actually played first team for Manchester United. It feels like 20 maybe tops.
Yeah, it's not many, is it?
So, I think he's a player that could really cement himself as, for me, he's our best winger.
Do you think?
Yes.
What, as in current form or just in terms of profile or what? Because obviously he's
I'd
never
say current
close
form.
to
current
some
form.
of the seasons Rashford's at.
Yeah, current form, I think he's our best winger by a mile, actually. And I think the way he plays the game, I think I'm going to like him.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I absolutely love Diallo. And I think, I keep going back to the action, I hate bringing it up, but it suits him. Like, I go back to that Liverpool game, he came on, we were 3-0 down when he comes on.
Yeah.
You think it was 0-0. He just wanted the ball constantly. He was causing problems, he was trying to make things happen. it was just, he got the crowd going, and it was so impressive. And I think we need players like that. And you mentioned there, Steve, he's our best winger at the minute on current form. Some of our other wingers, Garnacho's been a bit up and down, Rashford's been a bit up and down, and at times you can see they're suffering from maybe confidence issues. He's not. He wants the ball all the time, he believes in himself, he's running at plays, he's taking shots. Even, I think, was it the Brighton game where he scored? He didn't have a great game, but he got a goal. Like, I love that about him, and I think that now, Joe mentioned it a few months ago, this is the season he needs to step up, because he's had his low moves, he's had his fringe season where he's been more out of the squad than in. This is his time to step up, and I think so far he has done, and I agree. I think Amorim will get a tune out of him, and he'll be a great player for him.
And some of his defensive or sort of pressure numbers as well, like 2.2 tackles per game, which is top 4% in the top 5 leagues. Like, he does do things very well off the ball as well, and the weird sort of like almost flea-like leap that he's got.
Well, mate, when he wins the Meadows,
it's weird.
I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, what are you doing?
He's not power. Like, he hasn't got like big legs or
I think he times it really well as well. From when he's running.
He did it a couple of times in the last week,
and he just sort of timed it perfectly, headed the ball, and then set up an attack. You're like,
yeah,
that's unreal.
And the way he presses from the front. I wonder if we're going to have a completely different sort of pressing structure as well, because I've seen a lot of people who know more about that stuff than I do saying that United's pressing structure just hasn't been very good for the last couple of years.
But it's been different this season.
Okay.
Within this season, we've seen difference. That's actually Ruud's sort of off the ball shape at times was a 4-1-4-1 rather than the 4-2-4 that we saw at times. You're like, why does it look like a game of basketball? Like, yeah, because we've got a 4 and someone plays through it and they're like, oh shit, now we're on the defence. Like, whereas Ruud, I thought, was it the Chelsea game where we went 4-1-4-1 and actually looked really solid actually, and we didn't kind of, when the centre halves got it, we kind of let them have it, and then as soon as it went into the fullbacks, we pressed the fullbacks, and I'm like, I like that. This is, I'm seeing something different tactically here. So yeah, we might do. It might go to something like that. Who knows?
A little bit more stable. It was more of a mid kind of press. I don't know if that's even a thing, but it wasn't like everyone flying at them when they're in their 18-yard box. Like I said, we kind of let them come between the 18-yard and the halfway line before we started going after them. Who you got next? Speaking of midfielders and pressing and blocking and tackling.
Ugarte. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, right, okay, they've worked together, it'll be a raging success, just the same way we had Donny van der Beek and Ten Hag. Now he knows him, it'll go as swimmingly as that went. But I actually think it'll be good.
Yeah. That was the ultimate disaster, wasn't it?
How bad's that? Even when the guy that made you was like, no.
We've seen this
Moyes
before.
and Fellaini wasn't exactly a success story, was it? It's like, it doesn't necessarily mean that just because you've worked with a player before, it's going to work. But
no, I just think that the way what I've seen in his teams, yes, obviously, literally saw Ugarte in his team, but what I've seen in his teams, it requires someone that's got the kind of stuff that Ugarte's got, and I think he's post his first couple of games, he's settled in real nice. He's looking better on the ball with each game that goes by. His off the ball stuff is brilliant. Like, there's definite fan favourite potential in him, I think, with that sort of. He's going to smash someone into an advertising board at some point and then just give it some to the Stretford end.
Extra lethal at Old Trafford as well, isn't it? That, since the whole pitch is sort of like on the top of Mount Kilimanjaro or whatever, just this like massive slope down the side. Just, you mentioned him at Sporting. Here's some of his numbers and stats from when he played under Amorim at Sporting. His tackles won, dribblers tackled, passes completed, and tackles and interceptions together were all in the top 1% of people in his position in Europe.
Pretty good.
That's bad, he was literally, I think, the leader in Europe in tackles per game. Like, and we saw, what was it, 6 or 8 or 10, depending on which tweet you look at, of how many tackles he made against Leicester.
All of them.
Just all of the tackles, because sometimes a tackle will be an interception, or I think they get categorised as different things depending on who's doing the numbers. But I think that we're just starting to see, after an early start where people were questioning him and everyone hated everything because we were crap, now people are seeing what's good about him, and he's sort of, I don't know, just so dogged, so aggressive, but also reads the game really well. He's not just blind running.
We've actually got, with a lot of this summer's window, maybe not so much some of the other summer's windows, but we've got some actual character in the team emerging now.
That's a good point.
Ugarte, Mazraoui, I think De Ligt's a fantastic character as well.
Never shuts up, and I like that.
Added to the likes of Martinez, and I think there's some, and I think Casemiro to a greater or lesser degree as well. I think there's some real good voices. I know Nana. I think he's a pretty.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good voices in that team that I think have got the right stuff, and we're getting less of the sort of Sancho sort of attitude, or even to a greater or lesser degree. People misconstrue what I'm going to say here, but with Cristiano wasn't really out for the team. It was very much out for Cristiano, I think. Whereas I feel like some of the others there have got more of a what can I do with the team kind of thing. And I like that. And I think the more players like that you get, the closer you get to being a team that can achieve things.
Yeah. Who are actually willing to work hard. And even other players, I think Bruno's got that. I know he's a bit of a mardy arse and you can question his kind of decision making at times. But I think he is willing to try as hard as he possibly can to win matches.
Oh, yeah, he'll kill himself.
Yeah, and I think even Dalot, maybe he doesn't have the quality or whatever, but he's not. It's not for a lack of trying. Sometimes he's a little bit absent-minded or whatever, but he's up for it. I think there are very few players in the team where you go, he just don't care. And that's the sort of thing that I think 3 or 4 years ago in particular, there was half a dozen maybe of those kind of players. Finally then, Lenny Yoro didn't play a minute under Ten Hag, which we were trying to think, has that ever happened before?
Yes, Zaha.
That's what
That's the only one we could think of.
But that was like planned, wasn't it? You knew that. Fergie knew when he was signing Zaha, he was never going to see him play. Ten Hag didn't know that with Yoro. It's just absolutely bizarre.
Peter Beardsley.
What, under Atkinson? He played, didn't he?
Don't think he did.
I thought he had a couple of...
Did David Platt?
No, I think he got rid of him before he made a first team appearance.
John Obi Mikel.
Yeah, we signed him and then he signed for Chelsea.
Obi Mikel, out of the ones you mentioned, I think might be one.
But this is different though, because that was the player leaving before they played. This is the manager leaving before they've played, which I don't know if that has ever happened.
Chelsea have got about 5.
Yeah,
there's 1,000,000% Chelsea.
Yeah,
and
Chelsea
the rest.
Stuff, yeah.
Chelsea have players that have been there for like 14 years and have never played for
Chelsea.
Like, what? Who's he?
Like Paulo Ferreira was there until like 2019 or something. He was there in like 2007. Honestly, he was at Chelsea for a decade.
Like you're gonna have a testimonial. He's like, I played 38 games.
Yeah, honestly, look how long he was at Chelsea. It's like 8 years he was at Chelsea.
Remember when he had that
2
transfer ban and they just record all the loanees and there's like we've got 85 players to choose from.
And this player that we already had with a sort of loan with an option to buy, we're going to take that option up, and that doesn't count somehow.
Rules, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that was Kovacic, who they did that with.
Yeah, you're right.
Lenny Yoro then, why is he going to work?
Because I think he's a phenomenal talent. I think he's a lad with excellent potential. I think he's got loads of really good fundamentals with a little bit of an X factor about him. Obviously, we haven't seen him in a United shirt outside of a friendly against Rangers and a bit of training. But I was impressed.
Yeah.
Was it 8 minutes in one of them and then 20 minutes in the other game?
You could tell from that.
That's all we needed.
Classic.
Yeah, that's it.
And I just think, whether it's a 2 at the back or a 3 at the back, Lenny Yoro will play. Whether he plays week in, week out, it doesn't matter. He's a teenager. He will get there. He's got all of the fundamentals that you want to improve. And I'm hoping that Amorim's here long enough for us to see it where we go, is he the best centre-half in the world? Because I think that you might get to that point with him at some
He's got
point.
that, I love the Varane hype, hasn't he?
He's got the potential
level
to be that. Whether or not he realises it is up to him, and maybe even up to us as a team on some level. But he's certainly got... It's not out of the realm of possibility to say that in his future he could have that title.
That's what people were saying about him.
I love that as well. I mean, we might be wrong, but just having that to hold on to, just as a fan, looking at someone and going, do you know what? He could, like Mainoo, I always think that he could reach the absolute pinnacle of world football. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying well, but like there's that hope in there where you go, he's that good, you never know. And what we're hearing about Yoro, he could be that guy, and I love that.
Mad, isn't it? That is fantastic. Do you think that he will be a regular starter by the end of the season, or do you think? Because I was just thinking then, what's the youngest anyone has been as a centre back that played basically every time they were fit? Is it Rio at like 22 or whatever?
At United?
Yeah.
Well, he broke through at West Ham and did a season at Leeds, didn't he, prior to that?
Yeah. So, how old was he when he signed?
Wes was quite early, but he's 20. But he had that injury, Wes, didn't he? And then when he came back in, I think he was 21.
Was he 22, 23 when we signed him?
But he wasn't first choice, was he?
No. He made his debut when he was, I think, 89, but he wasn't first choice. And then at a time when he looked like he might be, he had a season out. So yeah, it's very, very rare.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Evans was quite young, but not that young. He went along Sunderland first.
Yeah,
again, he had
Evans
in front of him, didn't
Vidic
he?
and Evans in front of him.
Yeah, that's true.
Vidic and Rio in front of him.
Yeah, so there's no one I can think of that springs to mind.
You don't really get a lot of phenom teenage, like Varane, probably.
Yeah.
Real Madrid, what, 19?
19, 20, yeah.
Like, there's not a lot. Yeah, Rio might be one of the very, very, very few that's broke through. He was England squad at 19.
They're not like take him to 98 but not play him. He was like
96. Oh yeah,
take him like you're going to be the future.
Terry Venables took him in 96.
Yeah,
him and was it Joe Cole? Joe Cole, maybe Michael Owen. There was like a couple of youngsters. Like they don't talk about this, and you're like, you should talk about
squad.
This.
No,
like just like
with the squad. You see like pictures of them that on the sidelines they were there.
That's cool.
Just because they knew this is like in a few years these are going to be like the in the England team basically.
Before the Scotland game, where Gazza's gone, boom, boom, and boom, Rio found him on a sofa, smashed with a bottle of red wine done in, playing on the Sega Mega Drive or something like that. And he's gone and he's like, oh, fucking Gaza. And he's like, go to bed, son.
Okay.
And he's like,
well, the night before?
Yeah.
Oh, that's mental.
I mean, it's not a surprise, I suppose, really.
No, not really.
But then he took him at 98 and didn't play him.
Yeah, like, I think in terms of expectations for Yoro, I think he will be a success at United. I just hope that people let him have the time he might need to get up to speed, get the physicality.
You know
all
that's
that
not
stuff.
going to happen.
I know it's not, but I was trying to do this yesterday, on Saturday's video that we did with Makola talking about the expectations for Amorim. I don't want people to be like, oh, we could get third, and if we don't, actually he's shit. Like Yoro,
that's also going to happen.
Exactly, yeah, it will happen. But I think with Yoro, like I said, you've got a potential there. But even Rio Ferdinand, who is probably the best centre-back I've seen at United, he wasn't, what was he, early 20s before he hit that top level.
We signed him at 23.
Yeah, that's 5 years older than Yoro is. And he was a child, it seemed like. And I literally was a child when he signed. Right, moving on to
I feel like those 6 have all been pretty safe and obvious.
You just pick, let's just pick all our best
players. Why would we
not?
Like, we're not going to pick players that aren't going to play.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
If you got Shaw or Malacia in there, I'm going to rate him.
Well, let's have a look.
Wait. It's worse than that, son.
No, it's not. It's not. Let's not be silly here. Let's get to the first.
All right, we'll wait till we get to it.
Rasmus Hojlund. I'm very excited to see what he can do because I think, I mean, obviously, I'm sure there are better managers who could get more out of him potentially, but I think Amorim is in the top handful of European managers that can get the best out of a player like Rasmus Hojlund.
Yeah.
He likes players that can, break quickly, go through the lines, have strong, powerful running, get in behind, do well sort of when he's running towards goal, and Rasmus is that's what I think he's best at. He's not much of a sort of fox in the box in terms of making half a yard for himself, but he's going to have to learn that one way or another anyway. But I think that we will see more passes to Rasmus Hojlund. Whether he puts them away, we'll probably know before the end of the season if he's going to have that to his game or not. But the way that Sporting build up, there is tons of cutting the ball back to the penalty spot. Get it down the sides, cut it back. They do loads of different things. They play the 10s and they'll play it through the lines. But regularly, Gyökeres is knocking balls in that have been cut back to the penalty spot. The way City used to do or they still do under Pep, but Raheem Sterling got 25 goals a season from this kind of thing because they just get the ball in good areas over and over again. And if Hojlund can prove himself to be a bit of a fox in the box, paired with what he's already good at, which is going in behind, using his pace and strength, I think we're going to see the best out of Hojlund. The only question is his best good enough?
Okay.
But I think we'll probably find that out in the next sort of, this season and next season. If anyone's going to get it out of him, I think Amorim's one of the best players, one of the best managers to do that potentially. Are you optimistic for Hojlund in this system, Jay, or do you think that he's getting 0.8 shots per game because he can't make shots for himself?
Optimistic, maybe. Hopeful is more than optimistic.
You seem a bit worried.
I am a bit worried about Rasmus Hojlund. I like him. I think. I said this before, and it sounded like I was trying to almost have a dig. I'm not.
You did a bit.
I like the fact that, he's obviously his attitude, he's trying his best and all that sort of stuff, and he always gives his all, but it's mad because I feel like if you could combine the best parts of him and Xerxes, you'd have a player there, but too often, when I've seen Hojlund this season, he's not in those positions you need him in. Like Xerxes, I think, was it Chelsea Xerxes came on? I might be wrong. It was one game where he came on within 5 minutes, he's in that box, he's getting on the end of chances, he just didn't put them away. But Hojlund hadn't been there all game. Or I think he'd had one touch in the box all game, I think it was, which isn't enough. So he needs to be a little bit more sort of Almost like Cristiano, like in the sense of I need to get a goal, I need to be in that box, I need to sort of make things happen. Not I need to drop deep and wrestle with the defender.
We don't need him doing that.
Yeah, he does that all the time.
You almost want to be like,
get in there, kid.
If the ball's on the halfway line, that's fine. Although I feel like he's been watching the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup run.
As he should.
I mean, he should.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't try and emulate Mark Hughes because that's Mark Hughes, and you're not Mark Hughes, our kid. No. Stop trying to be Mark Hughes.
People stopped being built like Mark Hughes in the 80s.
Yeah.
No one's that like that.
But I feel like he's literally trying to hold the ball up a la Mark Hughes.
Yeah, he is.
And he's failing.
Yeah.
He's not that guy.
It's almost
he's a running behind kind of forward.
Yeah.
And, he's actually closer to Lukaku than he is Mark Hughes. And he needs to start playing like that. Like, look to roll people as the ball comes past and get on the end of that. Don't try and hold the defence off and bring others into play. Fuck off out of here with that. Just let the ball go and get on the end of it. That's where your strength lies because his duels are shit. Like he wins 2 out of 15 or something. Like he's just not winning them and he's not holding the ball up.
Because people just think that with Lukaku the same thing. Like why can't he hold the ball? He's not a hold up player.
No,
he's not.
They look at him because he's absolute unit and they go, he's he's got to hold the ball up.
Yeah.
No, he's closer to like a Michael Owen as a striker than he is like a Drogba or a Mark Hughes, for example.
I think last season we saw him with like the way the manager stuck with him and what it did, where he had some goals in the Champions League, but in the Premier League he was having a nightmare. But the manager just said, you're in every week, and he kept going. And then he had, was it October, whatever, he just scored 7 goals in 6 games. Everyone's like, mint. This season it might be different. He's got a manager that didn't or wasn't here when he brought him in. He might not stick with him if it doesn't happen for him. He might not give him, a run of games if it's not working.
What's Rennie doing? Rennie, come on, man.
There is a player there.
Immunity, not hockey, you mean?
Sorry, yeah.
We've had Rennie since.
I'm just a little bit concerned, and I think as well the crowd are getting on him a little bit. No, I don't mean the shouting at him, but you can sense it.
There's frustration.
Yeah, you can.
Losing that sort of expectation a little bit.
Yeah, and I think he'll feel that. So
like, he's coming off with not got a shot a game, and you're getting like Núñez, who's got like 24 shots per match. Like on some level, the team. We saw it with Van Persie. Fergie bollocked the rest of the team and was like, start giving him the ball in the right areas. He will win you the league. So there's obviously and he was telling the likes of Rooney and Giggs and Scholes and Kagawa and people like that.
Just getting on that as well. Yeah, just doing it.
He was telling all of them, you've got to do this. However, at the same time, because his finishing is good.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some of his numbers there. His shots on target percent. So when he actually hits it, he's in the top 1%. He gets it on target. His shots per goal is fantastic in the top 1% as well. So when he gets in good areas, he's a good finisher. Yeah, just getting in those areas more often.
Yeah, so. I think he's got to take more shots. He's got to gamble a little bit more and make some of those runs, because sometimes you do see the run and you just think. I think even the likes of, he could learn from watching like Chicharito. Yeah. The movement he had in the box, some of those double movements and shaking a defender, and I don't see him shooting enough off that single touch either. I feel like he always wants a touch. Have you noticed? Yeah. He always wants to take an extra touch, whereas the very best ones, your Van Persies, your Van Nistelrooys, your Yorks and Coles, maybe not Eric, he was a little bit more, he'd have a extra touch or 5, wouldn't he? But they shoot early. Solskjaer, they shoot early. They shoot early. They shoot on one, and that's all they need. They're like, see to go bang. Like, I feel like he's got to get that sort of instinctive kind of finishing in him. That's what when I said, what's Rennie doing? Rennie literally turned Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm sure Cristiano had a bit of an hand in this as well.
A little bit,
maybe not. But Rennie had him. They had different technique for like all these different. Triangles of the box. They just carved it up. We had him on a brew talking about it, didn't we? It's brilliant. Listen to, and he's shown him. It was actually Van Nistelrooy who he used. He was like, "We're going to start scoring some ugly goals." Played a videotape and was like, "Right, okay, in this area, this is the finish we're looking for, and this area, this is the finish we're looking for." And it was all snap, turned, bang, one shots. Not like take a touch, let's move it round the defender, then let's pass it. No, just fucking bang, bang, bang. And I wonder, could Hojlund benefit from some of that? Oppa could do that with him. Like there's loads of coaches out there that would manage that sort of finishing drills with him. I feel like that's what he needs. I feel like he's just got to start getting the reps in. Just take like 1,000 fucking shots a week and watch the goals start coming.
Yeah, because I think I always remember with Rooney, when he was just coming back from injury or sometimes at the start of seasons, he'd take that extra touch and he wouldn't get his shot away, and you go, and then once he got that fitness and the confidence, it's first time again. But I remember Rooney was always one who
shooting
wanted
early is
an
massive.
extra touch.
Shooting early and the thingy is massive. Shooting at weird rhythms and shooting early. The second, like you see the sight of the fucking go bang and just letting it go. The keepers aren't set. The defence isn't set.
Yeah,
really raises the chances of scoring.
Yeah, and hopefully, I think he can do that. And also, I know this is a bit harsh on Xerxes, but I do think that Hojlund is a more natural goal scorer than Xerxes, and I think that will benefit him in terms of the chances he gets to prove that.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get, if we had even a Cavani, a 35, 36-year-old in there who's a better finisher.
You know where this goes.
You could, in theory, think, well, we want the young guys to come through.
I will press play.
But Cavani would get all the minutes still, wouldn't he? Yeah. Whereas now, I think Hojlund will get the chance to prove himself.
Listen.
Have we ever had a player that looked better on a horse? I think we have.
I don't think there's ever been a player that looked better on the horse.
Correct.
That's true. Like Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
If you had to make a decision, yes or no, do I think he'll work out United? Yeah. Yes, but I do have my concerns. Yeah. I do, and I'm just hoping that he gets the opportunity to flourish.
My second one, then, who I think will thrive under Ruben Amorim, is someone that's been like, I've seen a lot of people question whether it's going to be the end of him at Man United, and that's Bruno Fernandes. I think he's our best player, or certainly he's the only one that can stake a claim for being one of the best in the world in his position. I can't think of any, maybe I suppose Martinez maybe could do that as well at centre back, but other than that, I think he's been certainly our best player since he arrived. He makes more chances than anyone else in Europe. I know he's a bit wasteful and he's a bit mardy, but his attitude is fantastic in terms of effort being put in. He cares about Man United. He makes goals and assists for fun and still does even when he's in bad form.
Do you think people
Why wouldn't he
look down on him? All of that effort, if he's not the captain, is really enjoyed.
Yeah,
I think people want a bit more stoicism with a captain.
I think so. Yeah, I think there's an element of that. People want someone who's more like Cantona or more like Keane, where it's not. It's all for the benefit of like everyone else.
There's almost like a manly kind of way that. So Cantona wouldn't talk and shout and this, that, and the other. Kick fuck out you if he needed to.
Yeah.
And Roy Keane, okay, he did shout a lot and threaten probably. And maybe even attack at times, but it was all for the team, and it was like aggressively manly kind of leading. And I know the game has changed, and maybe even society's changed a little bit from the late 90s, mid 2000s. But there's that sort of like whiny element a little bit to Bruno.
I think it comes across as a bit childish, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like you look like a bit babyish,
well, you think,
screaming and being all upset and pissed off.
If Turin happened again, and it's Bruno Fernandes getting a second yellow, you can already see that, can't you? And
spinning
not
around, flicking his arms in the air. Yeah.
It's got to fucking work then, like that Roy Keane did. And I think that, whether it's imagined, real, or whatever, whether his whining actually has an impact on the team, or even if they don't care, because they probably sort of feel the same way as him. We mark him down because of it, right or wrong. Right, we mark him down because of what we perceive as maybe not manly and a little bit childish and a little bit sort of wet, if anything. Whereas we want our leaders to just be stoic, deadpan, emotion cold, or just roar out aggressive.
Yeah, I think I think someone like a Martinez and his kind of persona, if you want to call it that, or personality, suits that captaincy role a little bit more of like. It doesn't seem childish or silly at all. Sometimes Bruno's got a silliness or a kind of immaturity to him that, like you said, I think...
If you was picking captain now, who's your candidates? Because I'd love to throw Mazraoui or Nana.
It's too early with Mazraoui, though,
It's too early with all of them, but you're in a flux of the squad. I think Martinez is the only one that I think I could argue over Bruno. But even then, he didn't play a lot last season, and he's this, I don't know... People like to take the piss out of him because he's 5'9" and all that. You start having that conversation when he's your captain. He'd fight you in a car park though.
They would.
I like De Ligt as a captain.
Yeah,
I do like Bruno. I wouldn't take it off him.
No, I wouldn't take it off.
To answer your question, when I've watched De Ligt, He never shuts up, but in a good way.
You can't take it off him without there being an incident, I don't think.
Yeah. I think. Listen, I think you can admit Bruno's faults at times. He's trying too hard. At times he can be whiny, whatever. But on the whole, it's not even a debate. He's easily been our best signing post Alex Ferguson. Yeah. And in many ways, he's been unfortunate because he's putting up numbers that should be winning you titles and winning you trophies. Absolutely. And I know he's won a couple, but those numbers are Premier League winning numbers. Yeah. And he's not got anywhere realistically near the Premier League title because he's been surrounded by a lot of players who aren't quite on his level.
I say this all the time. Brutally honest. Since he arrived at Man United, no footballer in Europe has made more chances for their teammates than Bruno has.
And people moan about him.
That is just...
It's not enough though, is it?
Yeah. Exactly. But if you put him behind a 26-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo or a Haaland or, whoever...
Rude.
Yeah.
He's getting genuinely 20 plus assists a season. Yeah.
They're
like top numbers.
Get his boobs.
How long has he got on his rent, do you reckon?
Oh, come on, son.
Yeah, give him
still got it, hasn't he? Yeah.
He's got it.
Yeah, I think, I say it all the time, we're lucky we got him.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those sort of inside winger number 10s. He's played out on the wide, out on the right before and been all right, but I think tuck him in a little bit, get him around the edge of the box, overlapping the striker. He's a good finisher of the ball. He's got good awareness inside the box. His passing and delivery into the box is phenomenal, as those stats that we've just mentioned sort of prove. Why would he not work? He's got more quality than anyone else in the squad in the attacking areas. He's going to be a success as far as I'm concerned. And going on from that in terms of guaranteed success, my final pick in terms of who could achieve achieve big things under Ruben Amorim.
Wait. Huh? Who could it be? Have we got 9 different players across the three of us?
Yeah.
Oh.
We talked about wing backs before.
This is where I think you lose the room. I think this is the first contentious one we're going to have. And you've saved the
not on the screen, which has made me wig out a little bit.
Yeah, because there's no stats to show.
Is this Luke Shaw?
You wish it was Luke Shaw, mate.
Antony. So, if we just get some of the numbers up, right? I'm just going to... Right, before you say anything, Steve, let me just go through some of the numbers, right?
I knew this was coming. I feel sick.
Antony... For wingers,
can we keep it on his solo for this entire thing, please? I don't want to be in this. I don't want to be in this video.
Caveat coming at the end. So hear me out. Yeah. Is in the top 1% for tackles, top 1% for blocks.
For wingers,
top 1%. Yeah. So he's a winger. What do you want him to do? Have a higher number for centre backs. Top 1% for tackles and interceptions, and top 1% for dribblers tackled. He makes more tackles per game than Luke Shaw and Dalot put together. He is someone that can win the ball back. He's in the top 1% for tackles in his own third, in the middle third, and in the final third. He is defensively good.
Now, it's off FB ref.
Yeah.
So it's on the last 365 days, where he played about 7 games, and one of those being at left back. I think the numbers are skewed. No further questions, Your Honour.
Well, Luke Shaw's not played many more, and he still beats him.
The thing with Antony is, it's not just his ability, which is questionable. It's his attitude.
Well, that's what I wanted to say.
You just can't. We can't. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish your point.
Yeah. The big caveat is he willing to play that role and give it 100%?
Do you know what I saw the other day?
Probably not.
Do you know what I saw the other day?
That might be an issue.
One of the coaches had to go over to him on the touchline and tell him to warm up properly. He's got a bad attitude. And this is in front of the kids. All the kids are warming up, and he's just messing about on the sideline. Just can't be arsed.
Doing his little fidgets.
Yeah, and the coach, he's not even doing that. And the coach had to basically just tell him, "Come on, man, warm up." I just feel like you saw. I know I keep going on about it, but it did rattle me. His reaction when he was asked to play at fullback against Arsenal, he's whispering to Gabriel Jesus. We saw when it was it Christian Eriksen, Marcus Rashford had to drag him against the Scousers or whenever it was to go and play in his position. He's got a bad attitude, and he needs to sort it out. And I don't know if you can go to him, right? We're going to put you in a position you obviously don't want to play. And he'll be like, yeah, I'll give me all in that position. I'm up for it. Or he's going to kick up a stink. And also, I also feel a bit of if you're going to give... You're saying left wing back, are you? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to give me a choice of, say, playing Antony at left wing back or playing Mazraoui there and Dalot on the right, I'd rather do Mazraoui.
I'd rather play Ari Hamas there.
I agree.
But Hamas has never played for the first team, has he? I think there's a step.
So he's saying he's never had a bad game like Antony.
That's true. But and I obviously know that this is a bit of a long shot, but I do think that the type of player Antony is actually suits being a left wing back more than it suits being a right winger. And I think if he looks at his career, and I don't know if he's got the sort of macro kind of zoom on to look at his career as a whole, he's a little bit fucked at the minute. He's damaged goods in terms of what, this ludicrous transfer fee that we paid for him. He's a little bit of a sort of meme / laughing stock online. He's got obviously off the field issues that I think have been largely resolved from a legal perspective, but obviously a tainted personality because of it. He's got, like you said, attitude issues where he looked like he was, taking the piss out of Ten Hag to the opposition teammate.
It's just unforgivable.
Absolutely unacceptable. He probably needs to think, I've got to do everything I can to make this work. Yeah. He's got 3 years left on his deal at United, and we're going to get about 12 million quid from him if we sell him.
How?
Well, someone will pay it. They just will.
The problem you've got here is...
Maybe he'll do it.
Is one... Remember when Rooney had to take Memphis aside because he turned up in his car?
Yeah.
Right, and that's the top and bottom of it. He had a Rolls Royce, and Rooney was like, yeah, you can't drive that here. Which is... On the surface of it, can he afford it? Yes, he can. He plays Manchester United.
When you say he turned up in his car, it sounds bad, doesn't it?
But Rooney's like, don't turn up in your Rolls Royce. Like, there's an expectation and a standard of how you're supposed to behave. Antony's filming his own Rolex, by the way, with his Lamborghini thing. Like, we know you're absolutely wedged, mate. Yeah. This decision making here, that tells me there's nobody in his life that's going to sit him down and tell him the way back to the big time, if you like, right? Because right now you're looking at maybe Forest Green on loan. The way back to the big time for you right now is to give it a go as a left wing back. I don't think there's a person in his life that can say that to him, and that's why I don't think he's going to work.
Yeah,
I think you're right. It might be the one Hail Mary that he's got in the locker to see if he can salvage a career. Yeah. But I don't think he will.
I agree with Steve.
Do you think that? Sorry, just while you're talking about point. Do you think that what he's got as a player, like his close dribbling is pretty decent. He's not a great sort of. He takes all right shots, but mostly he just takes shots that aren't great.
He's not roll that back. His shooting's fucking horrendous, Joe.
Terrible.
Yeah,
statistically horrendous.
Yeah,
out of 43 shots, he scored 1 goal. I'm backing myself for 2. I'm left-footed, Joe, and I'm backing myself for 2.
You know what his problem with shooting? It's not the ones that he's the fact he misses. He misses the target. It's giving away the ball.
Yeah.
Like if he's hitting the keeper.
Them balls are 80 quid each, Joe. And he's sucking loads of them on the tier 2 roof.
You can't do anything if someone's spooning the ball over into the K-stand or whatever.
You're falling right into my trap. He can't take those shots if he's not on the right, can he? We put him out on the left. Yeah, but he can't go across goal.
You're making the assumption that he's all right with playing there.
Yeah.
And I don't think that conversation goes as well.
If he comes out, does an interview and says, "This new role, I love it." Like Amorim,
he's going to have to go do ayahuasca in a fucking jungle to have that sort of.
I get your point. You're not the only one that said
self-reflection.
And there's a lot of the traits that you mentioned that you think it could work. I've not seen anything from him that makes me think you can mould him into something. I think in his head he is who he is, and he's happy with that. He's one of the few players. There's a few players I've ever seen whisper to an opposition player. One of the few players I've ever seen have a blazing row with Bruno Fernandes, where them two went at Sellers Park, which was all Antony, by the way. Antony just going berserk at him and wouldn't let it drop. And in the end, Bruno had to go and shake his hand or whatever it was. It was nonsense. He did the same thing against the Scousers when he got asked to play in a different position. He just seems like a kid who's got issues. And I just don't know. If I'm Ruben Amorim and I'm looking at the options I've got, and you think, okay, you might have an untested youngster who is trying his best and listen to what you tell him. You might have a player who's right-footed who you can have to stick on the left, but that's his position if it's the wrong side of the pitch or whatever. Or I've got this lad here who's had a bit of a stinker for a long time, kicks off a lot, and is a bit of a problem. I don't know whether I'm just going to go, nah. I don't know.
Joe loves a project, doesn't he?
Yeah, I get it.
Do you not think there'll be any pressure from United to sort of try and get a player that's sellable at least out of him?
Maybe play him from at least a PSR point of view, you'd be like...
But when you say that, though, I know it's not his fault, but when was it Fenerbahce came on? And like, okay, give him some minutes against Fenerbahce, and he's just, injured and then on the pitch lying down for ages. And I know it's not his fault he got injured, but it didn't help his cause.
No, we've got 3/4 of a season.
Even the Barnsley game where he did well and he scored a penalty, but even that was like, it was fucking Barnsley, innit?
He scored against Chelsea last season.
The kind of guy that's going to stash a Sonic the Hedgehog thing with a guy for nearly 9 months. Waiting for him to score a pissing goal and then celebrate like it actually means anything when he actually scores that goal.
I said he played well, I didn't say he scored.
Oh, right, sorry. I mean,
if I did say he scored, I meant to say he played well.
Right, that's what I said. He scored against Liverpool, Newport County and Burnley last season, I think. And the disappointing thing for me with Antony is he obviously got that goal against Liverpool in the 4-3, like mint, great. But I remember when we played him in the league and he goes through on goal, and genuinely, I did not get excited. I did not think he's going to get a winner here. I just knew he wouldn't, and I just feel that's the frustrating thing for me. I think he's had a chance, and he's just not taking it. Now, I say it about every United player. I love him to prove me wrong, but I honestly don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's good enough, and I don't think his attitude's right, and I don't think he's suited to that position quite as much as others.
Whatever we could have done to get rid of him in the summer. I always thought he would be the thing that sinks Erik ten Hag because of the association with him, and that's his signing, and he's just stinking the gaff out. Like, I think United have to swallow the very, very poor board decisions it was. Like, if internally Manchester United, like if I'd have come to you lads and said, lads, we've bought a new house, and you're like, how much is it? I said, well, we got it valued at 250, but I paid £1 million.
Yeah.
You'd have been like,
can it play left wing back?
Yeah.
What's his finishing like?
Yeah.
It's just shit decision making, isn't it? If you've done an evaluation of something and then paid 3 times
I haven't even disagreed with really anything you've said, by the way.
Like,
I'm not deluded.
I think even Matthews, who's been getting some minutes recently, I know only in the resis or whatever, but even he's a better option, I feel.
If he
left
can
wing
get back to where he was.
You know, Luke Shaw, who's constantly injured, I know, but if he's fit, would be a better option in that position. So, whilst
Leighton Baines?
Yeah. Like, Lee Martin's still knocking about. No, I think
Gareth Bale do a wing back.
Yeah, I get your point. And to be fair, Andy, all he needs is one good game, and all will be forgiven. We know how it goes. If he was to play left wing back against Ipswich and play Min, everyone would be like, great.
Just seeing the way he reacts to throw-ins and the way he's reacted to everything that isn't go play right wing, I just can't imagine there being a conversation with anybody that he goes, actually, yeah. Without there being like a bang on the head or something. Like, I just don't see how he has
I think
the
the
epiphany.
Like, someone like Lisandro Martinez, whoever is on that left centre-back role, might end up killing him.
Yeah, I do think
he's disappeared.
Getting it into his head that this
you?
might be his best shot is probably unlikely.
And I think the sad thing
Arsenal on the account attack, and what's he pulled out of his sock?
Yeah.
Remote control helicopter. He's tripped Saka up with it.
Like, I don't think we've seen enough good things by him to justify fighting to try and make it work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if he'd have been a bit better, we'd go, you know what, there's still a player there. I'm just not feeling it. So I understand your argument, but you're wrong.
Right, there you go. Right, let us know in the comments who's right, who's wrong. Is there anyone we've missed that's going to stand out under Amorim? Could Casemiro make a push? Could Xerxes be one of those perfect number 10s? No one's even mentioned Rashford. What's he going to look like in this system?
Do you know why? I think people are just fed up with him. And you have to meet people halfway. You talk about, all right, I don't think Rashford and Antony's attitude issues, because there's definitely issues there, are the same. I think Rashford just looks like he don't want to be here. That's different.
Yeah.
And I think if he doesn't change that, like, you know, if he doesn't impress the new manager, probably won't be here.
No. He had to do it we said it, didn't we, in Ten Hag's first season, he did. I said it in the summer, I said if he doesn't hit the ground running next season, I think Ten Hag will get rid of him. But he did. But I think he's back to that spot again where he's got to do it because he's had a bad season. The manager doesn't owe him anything. The fans are getting fed up with him. His numbers aren't great.
I think they're beyond getting.
No, you're right. I stuck up for him the other day and I was getting trolled for just saying, you know, he's all right. It's like people have turned against him. And I was really disappointed with Marcus against Leicester. I thought he had a poor game and it's a game he should have stepped up in, but time's running out.
Body language matters. Body language and that sort of what you're projecting matters. And right now, I think Marcus is projecting something that doesn't look arsed. And if that's not right, tell your face. You know what I mean? Like, fix it because it is fixable. It's absolutely fixable. I've seen him looking arsed recently as well. Like, if he came out and just did absolutely everything and sometimes even putting a statement out sometimes, it can help.
Yeah.
Just get him with Oppa every week. He's all right against Southampton when he spent a few days with Ryan Oppa. Just do that after training, straight to Oppa's.
Fucking hell, Oppa was on a mad one with that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Prices are just doubled, don't fucking at me.
Speak to my agent.
Right, make sure you check out Green King Sport. The link to the app is in the description. Thank you, Stu. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for watching at home. We'll see you in a bit.